So a lot of times it's the shoulds, it's the have tos, right? It's like, I should do this. I have to do this. I'm obligated to do this. We're not obligated to do anything. You'll know if it lights you up, right? Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. So you'll know if something lights you up because you get excited about it. And it's like, you're just super lit up by it. But there's other things that you do that don't light you up as much.
This is Get Unstuck Podcast, a podcast for entrepreneurs who prioritize their life first, business second. I'm Mudita Panmuk, your host, who dedicates my life to designing and building a business that supports lifestyle. We will learn together from entrepreneurs around the world how they overcome their life challenges, their business obstacles, and yet still get unstuck from the hamster wheel of burying themselves into their business. Because time is the number one commodity in the world that you cannot get back once it's gone. So let's shorten the learning curve and see how can we prioritize better. Let's get unstuck. Hi, Get Unstuck Nation. Our guest today is the founder of Wellness and Metaphysical, a community-driven platform that promotes a higher level of consciousness through expos and retreats. She helps others relieve root issues from their past that are holding them back, building not only just the next level of success, but also the deep fulfillment. You know, right? Like Get Unstuck Nation, that we are here to help you to put your life first, business second, because that's all that matters. So please welcome Jocelyn Sandstrom to Get Unstuck Podcast today. Hi, Jocelyn. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's such an honor.
Yeah, I'm so excited because you will hear the word quantum energy today that eager to learn about. And yeah, I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
So how did you get into entrepreneur journey? How did you get started?
Well, basically everything happens for a reason, right? And so before I got into this journey, I was living overseas in 12 different countries. Actually did live in Thailand for a little while as well. In the entertainment industry, I was modeling and acting. And then in 2003, my mom got sick. And through that, I knew that I was going to be able to help her naturally without medication, without all the side effects that came with the medication. And my mom was the center of the family. And when everything happened with her, everything just started to, untangle. And I decided I wanted to go on a journey to help her naturally, to help her holistically. That's how I certified in neurological repatterning, neurolinguistic programming, as well as hypnosis. And I used to do Skype sessions with her because at the time I was living in Hong Kong, and I would do Skype sessions through her, helped her to get through it. Then I dove deeper into Millennium Method, which is a quantum physics-based modality, Reiki, Yin Method. And then through all of that, I combined them into what I call my quantum energy sessions, which have been the most powerful, the one that actually helped her. And once it helped her and it helped me, and then I also used it to build my last career and take it to where I did. So when I used it to manifest all of those things, that's why I do quantum manifestation. I decided I wanted to help others do that as well. And that's how I started my business, as well as Wellness Metaphysical. And that's what my passion is, and that's what drives me.
How did you know that this is what you have to do?
I don't think so you just know, right? Like everyone has their gut intuition. Everyone has their knowing. So what I guide my clients to do is to get rid of the noise from our conditioned mind. Our conditioned minding is telling us what we should, what we have to, all of these things that aren't ours. We got them from our family. We got them from society. I didn't even know back then what success really was to me. I was living up to what success looks like, but not what it truly is. And so when I was doing this work, I was constantly working on myself. I was building my inner power. I was cultivating my awareness. I was cultivating my intuition. And so now what I help my clients do is to drop down into their soul knowing. And then you just know, you just know in your gut, when something's right, you follow your passions, you follow the breadcrumbs, and it will lead you there. But you have to get rid of all of the noise. So when everything happened with my mom, I knew there was another way. I just knew it. And then I started to follow the breadcrumbs and discover it. And then I just followed it wherever it took me. If something felt like, yes, you know what, this is the thing that's going to probably help, then I would take that class and I would just keep following it. You're going to be called to the things that are for you. You're going to think about it a lot, you know, like thinking about doing it is going to make you feel excited. And so you just follow your inner knowing. It's just that a lot of us have been shut down, or our inner knowing goes against what society says or what our family says, right? So a lot of times we suppress the inner knowing to do what everybody thinks we should or have to prove, please, achieve, all of those things. And that's why we have so much mental health illnesses. That's why there's so much suppression. That's why there's so much burnout. So I help my clients to shift that and get rid of that, to know their most authentic truth, what they came here to experience and what they were born to bring into this world.
And how can we know that these are the voice and these are what it is called for us?
So how do you know what is the conditioning and what's your knowing?
Yes.
So a lot of times it's the shoulds, it's the have tos, right? It's like, I should do this. I have to do this. I'm obligated to do this. We're not obligated to do anything. You'll know if it lights you up, right? Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. So you'll know if something lights you up because you get excited about it. And it's like, you know, you're just super lit up by it. But there's other things that you do that don't light you up as much. But then you also have to ask yourself, how are you thinking about it? So I'm going to give a little example. So before, I used to have to do freelance work while I was building my business. And so every time I would do the freelance work, I get frustrated because I wanted to just be building the business. But the freelance work was amazing. It was a very easy job. I loved doing it, but it didn't light my soul on fire. But it brought in the predictable money that was going to pay my bills. So every time I used to go to it, I get frustrated and it would drain my energy because I'm a generator in human design. So if you know your human design, that also helps you to discover yourself as well. And so generators, if you're not in alignment, you're frustrated. And so I get frustrated, and if you're frustrated, it drains your battery. And I get so frustrated until I realized that this job, I'm actually grateful for this freelance work because I get to do this freelance work, which pays my predictable money, which means that I get to build my business. And if I didn't have this, I wouldn't be able to build my dream business. So every time I used to go to my freelance work after that, I just got excited and I would go in saying, thank you for this job. I'm so grateful that I get to do this so that it could fund my business. So originally that was an out of alignment job. But once I realized that actually, you know what, this brings value to my life, then I get to value it and I get to show up in a way that honors them and honors myself. But let's say there was another freelance job that I did that just felt so out of alignment. Like every time I thought about doing it, I didn't want to do it. I did it purely for the money. And then I asked myself, is the money, do I feel like in my body, does it feel right? Like, does it feel like I can change the story like I did for this other one? Or does it still feel frustrating? Does it still feel like off or icky? And it did. So I just let that go. So you have to listen, like your body, depending also on your human design and your authority. I can feel in my body if it feels right or not. And other people sometimes need a sounding board to talk it out with. So once you know like what your system is, you'll know how to discover what that is. And then once you discover it, then you just have to cultivate the power to trust in that inner knowing, even when it doesn't make sense. Because when I first started to do this, my inner knowing would tell me to do something that my conditioned mind was like, no, you're crazy. So for instance, I used to be like it was all about the hustle for me. And, you know, wake up at 5 a.m., do the work, early bird gets the worm, no pain, no gain. You have to show up and you have to do all this. And I was burnt out all the time. So when I decided that's not what life is about, I went on the journey to discover myself. And when I tuned into my inner authority, there were days, this first day I'll never forget, the day it told me to rest. And my inner knowing was just like, okay, rest. Like I just need to like watch TV and decompress my brain. But that went against my conditioned mind completely, because in my conditioned mind, TV was bad. Like don't watch TV. Successful people don't watch TV. They're always reading all the time, right? But I was like, I'm done listening to my conditioned mind, because my conditioned mind got me these results. But if I want to take it to the next level and create something that doesn't exist, I have to listen to my inner soul knowing versus my conditioned mind. And so I rested, I sat on the couch, I watched TV, I completely relaxed. And then by the time I was done, I opened my email and I got an email from a magazine saying that they wanted to feature me as a coach and do a feature on me. So when you listen to your knowing, and I'm not saying go sit on the couch and do nothing. It was just that my body said at this moment, you need to rest. It's actually going to be more productive for you to rest build your magnetism, build your battery so that the universe can co-create and drop things into your reality for you, so that you then get to have these out of the blue experiences that come in that then quantum leap you into a whole new reality. Because if I wanted to get a magazine interview, I would have had to call all the magazines and ask them, hey, can you cover my business, and write a proposal and do all these things. Or I could just be in alignment with what my knowing is telling me to do every day, following those breadcrumbs. It doesn't mean that I sit on the couch all the time. It just means that I was so burnt out that my energy needed to rest. And as it rested, as I removed the resistance, then the universe could drop in what was waiting to drop in. But I was just creating so many blocks that it couldn't drop in. And so now I can find the balance between self-care and business and family and being a mom and my friendships and my own adventures. And when that knowing comes, I follow it.
Does it mean that you also have to prepare yourself to the certain point that things are getting into the journey that you are paving the way towards?
You mean the aligned action?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It would never have worked if I didn't take aligned action every single day. The reason why that worked was because I was just taking action, but I wasn't giving space. I wasn't creating that magnetism. So one of the things I realized is you have to have both. You have to take aligned action, not have to. You get to take aligned action, and then you also get to magnetize your energy. And so if it's not what we do, it's how we do it. So for instance, let's say you're going to buy something from a salesperson, right? And this one salesperson is just like so magnetic. They're living their best life. They have a lot of battery. They love themselves. They love their life. So they come and they talk to you, or you see them talking to another client and they're just so magnetic, right? And they're like sharing their stuff. And then there's the other one who's exhausted and burnt out and just kind of like stressed and a little bit grumpy. Who are you going to want to work with?
The first one.
Yeah. And so we get to realize that we get to build both. It's not just about the doing. It's about who are we being when we do it. So I thought it was always just about the doing and push myself and push myself and push myself. And I would never charge my batteries. I'd be chronically sick and tired and burnt out and stressed and have like anxiety and all of these things. And so it's like pushing a boulder up a hill because you're doing it, but you're not maximizing your results, right? And so once I discovered this, now I know I get to do both. I get to take the aligned action, and then I get to ask my soul, what is going to bring the most value? Not all the things, because I can be busy all day, but I'm going to ask my soul, what's going to bring the most value? And a lot of times it's going to be the uncomfortable stuff, like the elephant in the room, right? But I know that I've cultivated the inner power to do that. Instead of doing all this busy work, I know that I get to do the uncomfortable stuff because I'm here to stretch and I'm here to grow. So I leap in. I don't avoid it. Like if it's scary, I'll reprogram myself and I'll shift it out and I'll do it. Whereas the old me would just do a ton of things to feel busy, to feel like I'm doing something. But that one thing that's uncomfortable, I would just keep saying, I'll do another day. I'll do another day and I'll do another day. Right. So I'll take the aligned action that's going to bring the most value. And then I also know it's just as important to live, to be present with my son. So at 3 o'clock when I pick him up from school, after that, I'm off my phone. I'm with my son. I'm present. I put the phone on the fireplace. Or on the weekends, I'll go with my family and we'll be together. Or I'll connect with my friends. And I live like I make every single day magical, because otherwise, what's the point? And when I make every single day magical, then it amplifies my results, because now that I'm the magnetic person that people want to do business with versus the tired one that's just like forcing myself to put content out. You know what I mean? And then I get to co-create with the universe, because it's when you're in the zone that those out of the blue things drop into your life. And so the reason why that interview dropped into my life was because I listened to my body, and my body said rest. And so the universe probably was like, okay, yes, I want you to listen to your body more. I'm not saying rest all the time, but thank you for listening. I'm going to drop something in. Right. And then other times, other things dropped into my life when I was taking aligned action. Like I've been very uncomfortable doing lives in the past, and I'm still working on it on social media. And I just knew that that's the next step of my evolution. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Like, I'm just going to do that more often. And then I did a live, and I spoke my most authentic truth without suppressing it for everybody. Because, like once once you go live, then you're like, oh, what if they listen to it? And what if that person listens to it? And what are they going to think? And this person might like it and this person doesn't. And how do I make everybody like it? But I realized I'm not here for everybody. I'm here for my people. So I spoke my most authentic truth. And then right after that, I got an email being invited to go do this one big event. And so it's not just about resting. It's about listening to your inner knowing. And when you're in it, when you're listening to your inner knowing, doing it, whether it makes sense or not, you're in the zone. And when you're in the zone, the stuff that's waiting to fall in gets to drop into your life.
Going back to, in case that someone still not able to shift where they are right now, what could be like the sparking point that they can literally transition to creating the new paradigm for themselves?
So first you have to realize that you are creating your paradigm. You're manifesting every single second of every single day. It's just that you're either manifesting a lot of lack or you're manifesting a lot of abundance. You know, you're manifesting magic and miracles and exponential wealth, or you're manifesting struggle and exhaustion and never being good enough and all these things, right? Like our souls are infinite power. Like all our souls are same power, but different. We're all one of the same. We're all source. So we all have access to the infinite knowledge, infinite wisdom, infinite potentiality. Once you decide that, you get to take control of your reality. Like if you say, I can't trust, but you can trust that you don't trust. Or if you say, I don't have confidence, but you're very confident that you don't have confidence. So you have it. You're just making it real. Nothing is real until you put a story or a meaning on it. So once you're aware of that, you get to look at your life and you get to say, okay, well, where am I so-called stuck? And what story am I telling myself that's keeping me stuck? So I used to tell the story that everywhere in my life is amazing and magical except for my business. So I used to then look for all the examples of all the magic and miracles that would show up in my everyday life, like everything flowing, the parking spots, all green lights, you know, like a line opening up. There's a long line, someone saying, hey, come over here. There's no line. You know what I mean? Can I, you know, opening a cash register for me, like whatever it would be, but my business. And so in my business, I would look for all the examples of where it was stuck to prove that it was stuck, because I said everywhere in my life is amazing except for my business. So my mind is going to validate and prove that everywhere in my life is amazing but my business. So now, once I was aware of that, it was like, okay, number one, what do I desire it to be? And then I desire it to be that everything in my life is magic, miracles, and exponential wealth, and everything is growing and everything is flowing. So then I need to be very mindful of my thoughts to know that when I'm talking about my business and what I'm looking for in my business is only magic, miracles, and exponential wealth. Everything else doesn't fit. I don't validate that anymore. You know, like people always come to you and they say, this is my problem. And you say, but is it always happening? And you're like, and they say, yes. And you're like, but it can't always be happening. They're like, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. And so we say, congratulations, you proved your point. But do you want to keep proving that point, or do you want to prove another point? And when you start proving that other point, the unbelievable thing is it'll start showing up. Now there's two things. Was it always there, but you just weren't looking for it? Or because you were looking for it, you called more in? But we are the creator of our reality. So now you just get to look at what story you're telling yourself and what story do you want it to be instead. And if you have a hard time of holding on to that, letting go of that story, then you get to ask yourself, why am I holding on to this story so tight? What am I trying to prove? Or what kind of safety net is it making me feel that I'm afraid of letting go? And then once you discover that, like in my programs, we do that through the reprogramming process, then we get to shift that out and put in more empowering beliefs that are going to help you to take it to the next level. And then your life just becomes magic, miracles, and exponential wealth. Like that's just it's who we are being and what we're telling ourselves and what we're feeling that we're creating out into this world. So you know the red car theory?
No, share with us.
So yesterday, were you on the road by any chance?
No, actually. I'm resting yesterday.
Okay. Well, think about the last time you were on the road driving, and think about how many red cars you saw, just the top of your head.
No, none.
You didn't see any?
Yeah, actually none.
Okay, so now imagine next time you go on the street and you look for red cars.
Only red car. right?
Not only red cars, but you're going to see red cars that you didn't see before. You might see one down a street parked in an alleyway because you're looking for the red car.
Okay.
And so that's all we're doing, is instead of looking for the blue cars, or instead of just being on automatic pilot seeing no cars, we're just saying, this is the reality I decide to live in. I decide to live in the red car reality. And so I'm going to look only for red cars, and I'm gonna make that my reality because I get to. And I promise you, I do this with my 5-year-old. He just turned 5, so I always said 4-year-old. And we do it all the time now. It's like we changed the weather. I forgot his toys at the beach, and we went down to the beach, and he was so mad. And I was like, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. We're magic and miracles. And we get down to the beach and we start digging in the sand, and we pull up a Lego wizard toy, which is a magic, a wizard is magic, and it was a toy, so he had a toy to play with. It's like we get to create it always if we desire to cultivate that. And we had the most amazing day. But did that mean everything in my day was perfect? No, because I forgot the toys. Like there was lots of things that didn't work out, but I didn't hold on to that. I didn't make that my reality. My reality was this day was magical, and nothing is going to stop the magic. Nothing is going to take away my happiness or my freedom. I'm going to transmute any situation into something amazing. So when I went on the boat trip with my father-in-law this summer, the first week was sunny, but then all the rest of the weeks were supposed to be rainy and cloudy. And there was literally one day where he showed me the weather report. He's like, enjoy the sun today because the whole rest of the trip is going to be rainy and cloudy. And I said, not in my reality. Like in my reality, the weather always somehow works out. And if it doesn't, I'm going to make it magical anyways, because I brought lots of toys. So the weather's not going to control my reality. And then of course the sun came out, and he's like, what? And then the next day the sun came out, and by the end of the trip he started telling people that I can change the weather. Can we really change the weather or not? Who knows, right? All I know is that nothing is going to ruin my day. I get to make everything magical. Like the last day of the boat trip, there was going to be a lot of wind, so we had to come in a day early. And as I was coming back, I noticed I was getting really frustrated because I wanted to stay there one more day, and it was so beautiful. And I'm like, I don't want to be frustrated. Like I'm still on the boat. I'm still with my family, and I don't like to be frustrated. So how can I turn this around and fall in love with it? So I went to go give my son a hug, and I was like, oh, we're going to make this day the most amazing. It's going to be the best day out of the whole entire trip. And so the rest of the day, I just looked for things, and I told myself stories to find the magic in the day. And then we docked, and there was these trees, and the sun was coming through the trees. And I just stood there, and I'm like, wow, this is like just as beautiful as if we were there, even though everywhere else were houses. But I looked at that one area, and I absorbed that area to create it to be amazing. And so then every single day gets to be that. And when we can do that to our everyday life, imagine what we can do with our business, right? When we realize we're not the ones doing it, we just get to get in the zone. We just get to take aligned action, follow the breadcrumbs, and then the universe gets to co-create with us and bring in the clients, bring in the audience, bring in the opportunities, bring in all of those things, right? Like I listened to my gut. I knew I wanted to teach corporate workshops. I just didn't know how or when. And so I just listened to my gut, and my gut was telling me to do this thing and that thing and all of these things. And then all these things aligned. I ended up getting booked for a modeling job. And on that job, I met the CEO of the financial planning division, and I told him what I do, and through the synchronicities of it, I ended up teaching a workshop for them. And it was my most powerful workshop ever, and it was just from following the breadcrumbs that then I met the person. And because I was brave and courageous, and I knew my power and I knew my worth, I told him what I did, and we met and we co-created an incredibly powerful program for the bank. But if I didn't have the inner power, and if I didn't follow the breadcrumbs, would I have been there in that moment? If I wanted to do something like that, I would have had to write a proposal and then send it out to all of the places and all of those things, right? But like when we're in alignment, listening to our truth, and I call it being in the zone, then the opportunities are gonna find you. Because it's like, that saying, instead of chasing butterflies, build your garden and let the butterflies come to you. Like that's all we need to do, is we just get to build our garden, and we get to follow and take aligned action and be brave and courageous enough to know that when the opportunity comes, it's for us, and know that all our dreams and our visions are for us. It's a future echo from a future version of us showing us what's coming. Our dreams and our desires are our souls showing us what it came here to experience in this life. And so it's inevitable if we trust ourselves and our inner knowing, not the conditioned mind, and follow that every single day, it's inevitable that we'll get there. But we're not doing it for the results. We're doing it because we get to. And when you do it because you get to, you enjoy the process, you surrender into it, knowing that it's inevitable that the results are going to show up. You don't have to try and control it. You don't have to try and figure it out. It's kind of like going to the gym, where before I used to control even going to the gym. I'm like, I have to do this. And the whole time I'm doing it, I'm thinking about the results that I'm going to get. And I'm like, I got to do this and that. But I was wasting all this energy versus now just going to the gym, trusting in the class, trusting in, the class that I take and the program, knowing that they've created a well-rounded program. So all I need to do is show up, do the work, and the results will get there. I don't have to figure out how or when or all that stuff. I just show up every single day and do it, and the results become a byproduct of it. A month from now, I look back and I'm like, wow, right? And so I get all that energy back to live my life, to magnetize my energy. I create more time and energy, and then I get to actually enjoy my life. Whereas in my last career, it was just proving, pleasing, achieving success, money, all of these benchmarks. And so I had it all, but I was burnt out, anxiety, depression, like all of those things. And so I show people we get to have it all. Like we get to follow what lights us up, and we get to make an impact on the world. And then the results get to just drop in to us because we never stop. We're brave, we're courageous, we're resilient, we take aligned action, and we can turn anything, we can transmute anything.
Wow. The new favorite phrase would be magic and miracle. I have heard you saying that many times already, and I have written it down. That is going to be my new favorite phrase.
You just claim it. You claim that you're magic and miracles, right? You claim that your life is magic and miracles, and then you look every single day for magic and miracles to validate that as your new reality, instead of validating all the things that aren't working, all the lack, all of those things. Like even going to the restaurant, like my husband and I were going to a restaurant on a holiday, and we're on the way and he's like, oh, but we don't have a reservation. There's no way we're going to get a table. And I said, not in my reality. Like in my reality, we're magic and miracles and exponential wealth. So of course we're going to get a table. And then we get there and we get a table. Does that happen all the time? Not all the time, but I would say like 80 to 90% of the time it does. And if it doesn't, when you're manifesting magic and miracles and exponential wealth, you have to know that it gets to be that way. And if it isn't, you get to transmute it into something better than you could have ever imagined. So I knew that if, for instance, there was nothing, I'd find something else that would make it magic and miracles. I'd follow the breadcrumbs. So there was another time we went to that same restaurant and they're like, oh, we don't have a table. And I was like, okay, actually my son wants to go to the gift shop. Here's my number. And then they're going to text me when the table's done. And I just had a knowing. I was like, we're going to go to the gift shop. As soon as we're done there, I know I'm going to get a text and the table's going to be ready. And sure enough, that's what happened, right? Like when you're flexible and you're resilient and you know that you are magic, you live in the reality of magic, miracles, and exponential wealth, it's never going to not be, because you're going to make it. You're always going to find a way. You're resilient. You get to, like, when I was manifesting the weather on the trip, I was like, imagine if it's sunny today, and if not, I'm going to make it amazing no matter what. But imagine if it could absolutely, it gets to be easy, or I get to transmute it. And if you do that every single day, your reality is like, it's a completely new reality. Of course, it takes time. Of course, it takes awareness. It takes courage. It takes resiliency. It takes mindfulness to be able to do that. It takes overriding the conditioned mind. And that's why I created my programs, to like take people every single week and compound it and build that momentum and build that momentum. But if you're not in my programs, there's other programs out there. It's like, if I'm going to go work out at home versus working out in the gym, I'm going to get two different results, right? If you can't afford to hire a program, get a group of friends together and create a mastermind, and then mastermind together, creating the reality of magic miracles. Hold each other accountable, like listen to podcasts and then bring that to the mastermind and say this and that. And you just, like, we can do it alone, but we can do it so much more powerfully together. We co-create magic together. When I'm in the gym and I'm exhausted and everybody else is still going next to me, I have more energy to keep going because they're there. But if I was at home, I probably would stop. You know what I mean? So when we're in the energy of people playing full out, our energy gets amplified as well too.
In case anyone want to work with you, where can they reach out to you then?
The best place would be Instagram, because I do a lot free quantum energy sessions on my page through my podcast, as well as I'll do posts with whatever I channel that I feel like will be something that people need right now. And then all my programs are on there as well too. So you can see what my latest programs are, because it's always shifting and changing. Whereas my website is, you can go to my website and it gives you the basic information, but it's very stagnant. It's not alive. Whereas my social media is like always shifting and changing. So you get to be on the journey. We get to be on the journey together. We get to grow together. I also have a free mastermind that if anybody wants to join, they can DM me to get on the wait list. And then I also give people the soul evolution process. If you want the soul evolution process, just DM me on Instagram. That's what I teach my clients. This is a very basic version of being able to go in every single day and ask your soul and your inner knowing what your next step of evolution is. Not what everybody else says it is, not what everybody else thinks it is or should or have to, or what you think you need to do, but what does your soul say is your next step of evolution? And the more that you do it, the more you cultivate that relationship with your soul knowing. And then the more, but you have to do it over and over and over. In the beginning, the first time you do it, you might not get much, because your conditioned mind's going to come in and say, no, 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 don't do that. That's crazy, right? But the more you do it, and the more you trust yourself, and the more you trust it and do it, the more you're going to build trust within yourself. And then eventually you won't even need to do the process. You just get to close your eyes and tune in, and you'll be able to feel what's right or wrong. But also know in the soul evolution, it might guide you to do something that doesn't work out, but that wasn't the wrong step. You had to go to the thing that didn't work out to learn what you needed to learn, to then pivot and then to take the next step. So it's only whether we judge it as good, bad, right, or wrong. But our soul tells us to do something, and then we learn from it, but we never would have known that unless we did it. So it's like honoring that our soul guides us no matter what, whether it looks right or wrong, but it's always leading us to our next level, as long as we just keep listening and following the breadcrumbs instead of beating ourselves and giving up. If we beat up ourselves and give up, we're never going to get there. But if we're like, okay, I get it. I had to learn this. I forgive myself. I'm going to harvest the learnings, and I'm going to pivot, and I'm going to turn it into this, and I'm going to keep going, then you'll get there. And the more you trust, the more you aren't afraid of doing something wrong, because you can't. Because as long as you're the master alchemist and you can always turn it into something better than you could have imagined, you can't ever do it wrong. As long as you can trust that, you can take the leaps. But you can't take the leaps if you're so afraid of doing it wrong. But, I always say failure way to success. Like Michael Jordan said, the reason why he was successful was because he missed all those shots and all those passes. And that's what made him successful, because it never broke him. It just made him stronger and stronger, and he never gave up. And people only remember the amazing things, but he listed, like, I missed all these shots and all these passes and all these things, but it didn't break him. And that's why he became a legend. And that's all we need to do, is we just got to we just got to stand in our power and take aligned action, aligned action every single day. And it's inevitable. We'll get there. It's impossible for us not to, unless we give up.
So everyone, the Instagram of Jocelyn will be around here and also in the description. And I hope you, Jocelyn, and also our Get Unstuck Nation here have a magical and miracle day ahead. Thank you so much for joining Get Unstuck Radio today.
Thank you so much.
I hope this episode inspires you wherever you are in your entrepreneurial journey, so that you can have your business that supports your lifestyle. Get a show note at getunstuckmethod.com/podcast. Review what we have learned together today and start implementing right now. See it by yourself. The result of your consistent action are worth it. You deserve the freedom to enjoy your life. Until the next episode, let's get unstuck.